Bienvenue, welcome. Thank you very much for taking a little bit of time out of your day to learn more about AAA Northway's upcoming Summer 2025 trip of a lifetime in partnership with AAA Member Choice Vacations to France. France Magnifique, June 26th to July 7th, 2025. From the Royal Palace of Versailles to the enchanting streets of Paris, grab a baguette and rendezvous with the best of France. Remember, any of our travel advisors throughout the AAA Northway Club are here to help you to get on this trip of a lifetime. In the capital region, from our Queensbury, Schenectady, Saratoga Springs, Clifton Park offices, and of course, down in the southern tier in the Vesta location there with Tammy, Michael, and Sean, we're here for you. Reach out at 877-222-8283 or AAA.com/appointment to book this trip of a lifetime. And on this tour here, Melissa Kelly, one of our regional branch managers, for AAA Northway is going to bring you out here on this trip of a lifetime to beautiful France. My name is Ryan Farrell. I'm the Business Development Manager for all of Eastern New York and the Capital Region for AAA Member Choice Vacations. Have been over to 20 different countries, and trust me, France is where you want to go and see and explore here in 2025. The company I work for, AAA Member Choice Vacations, was voted the Guided Tour Partner of the Year for the 7th consecutive year in a row in 2023. They haven't finished off with the awards for 2024 yet, but probably we're going to get it here. But knowing that you're traveling with a tried, tested, and true company, more important than ever. And our ground operator for all of our tours at AAA Member Choice Vacations is Colette, which is the longest tour operator here in North America, been around for 100+ years. So knowing that, again, you are with definitely a household name here. And if it's good enough for Pat and Vanna or Ryan and Vanna or whoever in Vanna, it's good enough for you. When it comes to guided travel, you're not going to have to worry about a thing. You have a tour manager who's with you from the entire time, from when our trip begins and ends in France. 4-star quality plus accommodations here, really ticking a lot of the boxes here, both Epicurean and cultural wise here as well. And yes, we're going to be really experiencing this beautiful part of France. And that's why our travelers love us. No one-night stays on this tour here. Very inclusive on this. We only have one optional tour on this entire journey here as well. And having that kind of choice and flexibility here, very important. And that's for us. We're not the cheapest company. We're not the most expensive company. But when it comes to quality and value, that's what you want. And that's what you get with us here at AAA Member Choice Vacations. And being a AAA member, there's an additional added benefit. So if you didn't need to use towing or some of the other different services that AAA Northway offers, well, you get a little extra value add on this trip right here. But without further ado, allons-y, let's go. Let's get right onto this journey here again. This is, again, going to be June 26th to July 7th, 2025. And to start off with those kind of average weather forecasts and, the Al Roker questions, here's how it balances out. Albany, our capital of New York here, on average 61 and 79 on June 26th, our day of departure. Paris, France, where our trip begins, is going to be 57 and 72. So again, we're going to be flying in and out of Paris on this. We're going to start our first 2 nights in Versailles, which is a suburb of Paris here. And then from there, we're going to do 2 nights in Versailles, 2 nights in Caen up in Normandy here, as well as making our way out west towards Saint-Malo, or St. Malo, as you might have said in English. Of course, stopping along the ways at places like Omaha Beach and Mont Saint-Michel along the way. And then from 2 nights in Saint-Malo, we're going to make our way down to the Loire Valley. There with day trips there in Chinon and Amboise. And we even have a choice on two. We're back on days 10 and 11, which I'll be highlighting there for you in just a little bit. Now, in terms of things on this here, this is a tour activity level of 3. This means you're an on-the-go traveler. You don't want to miss a thing. So walking, standing for longer periods of time really isn't a big deal. And of course, there's going to be some uneven ground. You might have some different type of transportation on our journeys here, but really in this specific tour, some of our most unique sightseeing, again, is going to be in areas where the motor coach is restricted, such as in historic areas like Mont Saint-Michel, Saint-Malo, and of course the villages of Chinon and Amboise. So for our comfort here, we really recommend bringing walking shoes. And yes, and if you require a walker or a wheelchair or have difficulty walking here, this might not be areas where you'll be able to access everything here. You might want to consider somewhere else. Again, reach out and speak with any of our travel advisors on this. Now, again, I do want to point out, for the long walks in the airport, for instance, there, if you need a wheelchair to get from one place to another, that's fine. But if you're expecting to be able to use a motorized scooter or some type of thing like that overseas, that's not going to happen on this tour here. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to do a round trip group pickup from the capital region here, usually at the AAA Half Moon office there in Clifton Park. And then we're going to be making our way down to the New York airport. So we're going to be using either JFK or Newark because, again, we will have better opportunities, depending on flights, to kind of pick and choose our best destinations there. From there, overnight flight across the pond, roughly about 7 hours as the crow flies, gets us there to Paris. And that's where our trip is going to begin. Now, on the way back, we're going to finish there in Paris. We fly back to New York, and then from New York, we will transfer on that motor coach back up to the capital region. Now, I do want to point out, if you have a family member or a friend that lives in a different part of the country, we can fly them out of their local airport, reach out to your travel advisor here at AAA Northway, and we can make those dreams truly become a reality. But here's where our journey begins. Of course, this is in Versailles. Of course, this is the beginning of our voyage with a savory French dinner here in the culturally rich town. And our next day, what we're going to be doing is make our way here, of course, to the Palace of Versailles. We'll go out on an exploration here, this UNESCO World Heritage Site. UNESCO standing for the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. Where basically the UN said we need to take care of this for the patrimony of humanity. A guide is going to lead us through the private apartments of King Louis XIV, who was known as the Sun King. He transformed his father's hunting lodge really into this amazing seat of the royal court here. And we'll continue our visit independently through some of the lavish state apartments here, and from the prominent Hall of Mirrors, which we see right here, to the opulent bedchamber of the Queen. We'll take in Versailles' most famous sites here at our own pace. Now, this afternoon, we'll explore the palace's grandiose formal gardens, the spectacular Baroque fountains here as well, and just have a beautiful day here in Versailles. Make our way back to our hotel. Evening at leisure, tour manager will give you options, ideas, where to go, what to see, what to do there. And our next day, we will be making our way from the Paris metro area here up towards Normandy. And of course, stopping at Monet's countryside home here in Giverny. And on this here, we will be able to stroll through the colorful living work of art that is his Monet's gardens here. And we'll see the source for the inspiration of this impressionist artwork, or I should say artist here, and his artwork, including the setting for his iconic water lilies. Then we'll settle off through the rich pasture lands of Normandy to the city of Caen, where it will be our home for the next 2 nights. Our next day, what we will do is we will visit Omaha Beach here. Of course, this site is where the largest invasion in history took place during World War II. D-Day, which was originally called Operation Overlord, excuse me, involved over 150,000 Allied troops, believed to be nearly 4 million landmines that were placed here in and around Normandy by the Nazis. Now, we'll be then also spending some time at the Normandy American Cemetery and the Visitor Center. We'll be seeing the stars and the stripes raised over the graves of the valiant soldiers who gave their lives in the Battle of Normandy. Now, this is the resting ground of nearly 10,000 fallen soldiers here. It's actually the first American cemetery that was established in Europe during World War II. And believe it or not, of all the people buried, only 4 of those graves contain women. So again, you're going to have just a very eye-opening, powerful experience here at the cemetery. Now, what we will then do is we will walk through and onto the Pontotoc Ranger Memorial here. This is where the 2nd Ranger Battalion scaled the 100-foot cliffs on D-Day, June 6, 1944, to seize the fortified enemy positions. Now, this overlooks Omaha Beach, and this tactic really helped to prevent more loss of life. And without German occupation of the fort, ground missions below could continue more smoothly. And the fort was deemed to be one of the most dangerous positions along the Normandy coastline. Then what we'll do is we'll make our way on towards to Saint-Mary-Église. This here is where we'll be visiting the Airborne Museum. The museum opened in 1962, focusing on the 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions on D-Day. And here we'll find airplanes, model soldiers, and different gear that were used by the paratroopers. From here, our next day, we'll be exploring the D-Day landing sites with a visit to Juno Beach and Arromanches-les-Bains, which is where we will see the remnants of the artificial Mulberry ports. Now, these were one of the greatest engineering feats of World War II, and really was how the Allies were supplying their lines during the liberation of France. Now, again, a mulberry port, it's a man-made harbor, really just designed to support efficient offloading. again, 80 years on, you're still be able to see these things up close and very personal. Now, there, what we'll do is we will then make our way towards the Peace Memorial Museum in Caen. This was built to commemorate those who died in the epic Battle of Normandy in 1944, opened in 1988, 44 years after the D-Day invasion, and has been extended to contain exhibits of the Cold War, as well as an addition to World War II. Now, then it's off to Saint-Malo, which is in the region of Brittany or Bretagne in French in France. And this is here is a famous coastal village of Saint-Malo. And here old city dating back literally to the first century BC. And here we're going to take in the beautiful beaches, the striking blue waters, the views of the old, fortified old town. And due to the city's location along the coast, has a very long history with pirate invasions and much more. Fortunately, very safe these days. Now, here, what we'll do is our next day, make our way to another UNESCO World Heritage Site, and this is Mont Saint-Michel, which literally translates to St. Michael's Mount. Now, this rests on the border between Normandy and Brittany, and it's a world-famous pilgrimage site here, sitting on the edge of the sea, and it becomes an island during high tide. Now, the island's position has occupied strategic defense forces since the ancient times, and has been also the seat of that monastery since the 8th century. We'll be taking in breathtaking views as we stroll along the old city at the base of the village. Then we're going to explore one of the most beautiful abbeys in France, again dating back to the 11th century. Now, access to Mont Saint-Michel is via a shuttle bus that requires the ability to stand for a duration of the time, approximately 10 minutes or so each way. And the shuttle is going to drop us off about a quarter mile or so from the village walls. Now, from this point, the visit is entirely on foot. There is no motor coach driving us around or strollers or trolleys or whatever there. Again, so you'll have to have the ability to navigate cobblestone streets, steep inclines between 8% and 12% or so. There's no handrails on the village streets. And the visit to the Abbey really requires the ability to climb 350 steps. About 200 of those are outdoors to reach the top of the Grand Rue, that grand street there. Again, about 150 inside of that abbey. So if you don't want to go all the way up, you can at least go through the town there. And again, we just want to point out here, no elevators, no escalators in this famous abbey and small town. Now, just again to show you what it looks like here in and around the region, we will be returning to Saint-Malo here. We'll enjoy time to relax or explore independently. Our tour manager will give you options, ideas, where to go, what to do, and so on and so forth. So again, just to show you where we've been and where we're going. Again, so we've done our 2 nights in Versailles, 2 nights in Caen, our 2 nights in Saint-Malo, visiting, of course, Mont Saint-Michel, and now we're making our way down to the Loire Valley. Again, another UNESCO World Heritage Site, brimming with chateaus and parks. Once this was the setting for the French court, and again, over 300 square miles, situated in central France here, it is the home to fertile grounds, historic estates, and world-renowned wines. Here we're going to find those vineyards, fruit groves, vegetable fields, and more. And we will arrive in the medieval village of Chinon. Set on the banks of the Vienne River here, holds the castle of King Henry II, who was the King of England from the 12th century. And that castle would have been passed down to Richard the Lionheart. You may have heard that name. The architecture of the town features the eclectic mix of medieval style and early Renaissance here. And it was also the famed town here where Joan of Arc met the young Charles VII. Of course, this time was around the 1430s or so. She was about 17, 18 years old. And here, this is where she shared her vision that he would defeat the English during the 100 Years' War. Now, we will then here visit the market, abundant with fresh produce, flowers, local products here. And again, just take time to enjoy lunch along the banks of that Vienne River here. Now, of course, I want to point out, we talked about wine earlier. Well, no tour of the valley would be complete without going to a local winery, and that's what we'll be doing here. Is we'll be discovering some of the most other traditional wines of the region, and then we will feel like royalty when we arrive at the Chateau de Beauvoir. This here is a 15th century castle. It's going to be our personal accommodations for the next 2 nights. Cool is this? Now, this was a place frequented by the King Louis the 13th, who would go hunting with the Duke Charles Ebre de Luynes, and we will here be able to delve into the history of this site, enjoying leisure time to explore the grounds, relax in the chateau's charming terrace, and much more. We will be able to also delight in gourmet French cuisine here in the dining room of our chateau. And our next day, we will then embark on our way to the spectacular Chateau de Chenonceau here at our own pace. Now, this castle, built in the 16th century, the second most visited chateau in France behind Versailles. So we're bringing in number one and number two. And this here, the grounds have been occupied for hundreds of years, as I said, even before the 16th century when this castle was built. It was actually started as a mill, but then rebuilt as a castle here. And the hull of the castle expanded over a bridge sitting directly on top of a river. And this is what we see right here in the shot. Again, perched right along the banks of the River Cher. It is the icon of the Renaissance architecture for sure. We'll then make our way to the picturesque center of Amboise, and here we'll enjoy free time for exploration, getting to know the local culture. And even though this town may seem quaint, the legacy lives on through its historical patrons. Now, Da Vinci, he lived here for 3 years by the invitation of the king, and when he moved there, he actually brought his beloved La Joconde, or as you may know as Mona Lisa, with him there. We will then also enjoy free time for exploration, getting to know some of the local culture here before our next day, making our way back to Paris. Here, Paris, France, course, the French capital of one of the most beautiful cities here on the planet. Of course, you see the Eiffel Tower there in the distance, the Arc de Triomphe nearby here. Again, this is all a part of these iconic symbols of the Ville de Lumière, the city of lights. Again, renowned for its luxurious dining, high fashion, its French savoir-faire, and much more. And yes, a lot of history. It dates back all the way to the 3rd century BC. Here we're going to experience a scenic river cruise here along the Seine River, gliding under the romantic bridges, taking in the city's most iconic landmarks, such as the Notre Dame Cathedral, the Conciergerie, as well as Ile Saint-Louis. Now here, the river divides the north from the south of Paris onto what is known as the right bank and the left bank. And of course, the banks of the River Seine here is what gave the UNESCO status back in the early 1990s. Now, after our cruise, we're going to enjoy the evening here at leisure. And we have our one and only optional tour that night, and that is to Palais de Latin. I just mentioned to you here the Eiffel Tower. Well, this was actually the place that we're going to go to. This was created, architecturally speaking, by Gustave Eiffel himself back in the late 1880s. And this is where the Palais de Latin has been running ever since 1889. And this is in the Latin Quarter here as well. Here we'll have a sumptuous dinner here with wine, as in we'll of course bring on the champagne and let the show commence. Goes for $225 per person on this here. And being a AAA member, you have a one-time $50 off per person savings towards this optional tour. So if it's done pre-purchased ahead of time here, it'll actually bring it down to $175 on this. Now, this is, of course, a traditional and typical Parisian cabaret. So the show does contain tasteful nudity and may definitely be unsuitable for young children and things like that. But I want to let you know is that if you've been to shows, and I have personally been there myself, they have done a complete revamp of the show from what it was maybe 10, 12, 15 years ago. The choreographer for Lady Gaga, when she comes to Paris, was the one who actually, I should say, touched it up and brought it to kind of a new 2024 style and vibe to it here as well. Very high energy. Yeah, they'll have a little tribute to the can-can at the end, but this is something where even the Parisians today and the French, they will come to this spot here for a great night out entertainment here, and it is not just quote unquote, for the tourists. So I want to point that out here as well for you on this. Now, our next day, what we're going to have is we're going to have a choice on tour on how you want to see this beautiful city. So maybe if you've been to Paris in the past, you might want to do one other than the other, but there's no additional cost on this here as well. One is going to be, of course, with our local guide here, doing a panoramic motor coach tour here, seeing the Arc de Triomphe, the Champs-Élysées, the Notre Dame Cathedral, and the Place de la Concorde. Or what you could do is step into the shoes of a local and navigate le métro, the metropolitan or the subway here, the tube, whatever you want to call it, on our way to the hilltop neighborhood of Montmartre and see the iconic Sacré-Cœur Basilica. We'll all regroup together here, and what we'll have here is an evening at leisure. Our next day, we will then take advantage, or I should say this here. Well, rest of our day here, take advantage of a free afternoon, writing our own story on this beautiful city of Paris. And this evening, we are going to celebrate the conclusion of our French voyage during an exclusive dinner at the Eiffel Tower, featuring, of course, French cuisine and panoramic views of the City of Light. How cool is it that we're eating at the Eiffel Tower? Okay, so this is about 58 meters above the ground here. We're not going up to the tip top of this here, but I want to point out beautiful views, have that once in a lifetime experience for sure here as well. And of course, we set home with many magnificent memories of this amazing trip here, late June, early July 2025. And we look forward to having you there on this trip with AAA Northway and AAA Member Choice Vacations. So again, we will do this hometown pickup, which again is going to be for us here in the capital region. We'll do that one pickup spot, usually at the AAA Half Moon office there in Clifton Park, make our way down to New York. And as I said, if you're watching this or have a friend that lives in a different part of the country, we can fly them out of their local airport here as well. I want to point that out. Next is that if you have any personal adventures that you want to continue plus it up, so to speak. Again, we do have that optional excursion that's available, but if you're looking to upgrade your air, things like that, just let any of your AAA Northway consultant know, and we can make that adjustment there for you. Our no worries cancel for any reason insurance, something you shouldn't consider, you should just definitely do. Because again, you don't need insurance until you need insurance. Remember the summer of 2024? It was beautiful skies. All of a sudden, computers shut down with the blue screen of death. Those people that didn't have insurance out of luck. So note this is that, again, if you have to cancel for any reason, literally to the day prior, full money back refund, just minus the insurance. On tour, you have coverage, medical assistance, evacuation, baggage loss, delay, theft, trip interruption. It really is that peace of mind that you can't put a price tag on. And now note, up until just after a couple days after Christmas here, 2024, December 27th, if you have to cancel between now and then, you're going to get everything back, including the insurance. From the 28th to the day prior there at the end of June, you'd get everything back minus the insurance. But then again, that's why you have insurance. We have extended our loyalty for those of you who have traveled with us in the past with AAA Northway and AAA Member Choice Vacations with an additional extra year of savings. So if you have traveled with us from basically the end of June of 2023 to 2025, you're going to have this 5% loyalty credit as a way of saying thanks. If it's been 3 years, it'll be 3% loyalty credit there on this. And again, when you come back home, we'll be able to have that savings there for you to really start to tick off that bucket list, so to speak there. You will need to have a passport. So look to see when your passport is due to expire. You can reach out to any of your travel advisors at AAA Northway, but they have made some updates with the Department of State that you can do a renewal online. You don't even need to go to the post office anymore. So look into that here, but look to see when that passport is due to expire. If it's due to expire by the end of 2025, you'll want to get it updated. Why? Because we don't want any funny business happening there prior to departure in June. If your middle name is spelled out, spell it right on that registration form too. Also, due to happen sometime in 2025 is a travel authorization or an entry visa for going into the Schengen or EU countries here. They've been pushing this off for the last 7, 8 years now. We will give you more updates once this does, or eventually, or maybe comes down the pipeline here. But it is not going to break the bank. And again, we will give you more information when that comes to fruition. If it comes to fruition. Here we go. Let's go back right to our trip dedicated webpage. It's http://gateway.memberchoicevacationscom/link/1213372. Again, 1213372. Note there's no www in there. That QR code to the right-hand side is going to bring you right to that page where there's even that sign up now button right there. Sign up now button looks like this. Up to the top left-hand side, you see that green arrow pointing right to it. Over at the right-hand side is the contact information for AAA Northway's group travel department here, which again, I'll have that highlighted. Up to the top right-hand side is even that way to push out that information to a friend. Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, whatever. It's a great way to give some bragging rights or to encourage somebody else to travel with you. Under the highlights, this page also really helpful because it has the know before you go information, the travel tips, so to speak, there as well. All right, so again, turnkey. If you have any dietary restrictions, you want to give your TSA numbers, your global entry numbers, any of that stuff, you can put that right in here as well. Or again, supply that to your AAA Northway travel advisor. And the early bird really does get the travel worm. By the 27th of December, you'll be locking in the lowest rates possible. And here's the breakdown on everything. Again, deposit $698. At the time of deposit is when the cancel for any reason insurance is due. $549 comes out to be $1247 respectively per person. Again, fully refundable, including that insurance by December 27th here. Final payment will not be due until the 28th of March here. 2025. And what's included in this rate? Again, this includes the round trip transfer to and from New York airport there. Again, we're going to be tossing in either between Newark or JFK, depending on best flight availabilities here. And then, of course, our round trip air, including the air taxes, airport to hotel transfers in France, hotels. They'll even take care of the porterage. All those itinerary inclusions into those sites like Versailles, Giverny, Mont Saint-Michel, and much more. Nearly a dozen and a half meals, 16 meals included on this, as well as, of course, your tour manager. What's not included? Tips to the driver guide, local guide. We'll give you what those suggested rates are, as well as any retail therapy that you choose to partake in here as well. Again, but lots of things to see and do and experience. $62.49 per person, double occupancy. Again, that's with that $150 off, with that insurance of $549, $67.98. As a solo traveler, it's $1,200 higher. It's $74.49 with that $549 insurance, $79.98. And again, very limited amount of solo spaces on all of our tours here. So do not delay, do not wait here at all. But because you know the voice in your head that's telling you to travel, listen to it. 10 years from now, you'll be so glad that you did. So what are you waiting for? The best time to travel is while you can. Of course, reach out to any of our AAA Northway travel advisors here. Again, in and around the capital region or down in the southern tier, we're here for you. Again, at 877-222-8283 or AAA.com/appointment. And again, on behalf of all of us here at AAA Northway and AAA Member Choice Vacations, merci beaucoup. 877-AAA-8283, travel@northway.aaa.com, or again, gateway.memberchoicevacations.com/link/1213372. We'll see you there again, June 26th to July 7th, 2025, with AAA Northway and AAA Member Choice Vacations on France Magnifique. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.